Hello everyone, my name is Jeffrey Murr and thanks for tuning in to our continuing discussion of the Odyssey by Homer, specifically the Robert Fagel's translation of the book. And in this particular video I want us to look at book 6, which is titled The Princess and the Stranger. All right, the stranger in this case is Odysseus himself, because if you remember when we left off in the last video, was that he was washed up on shore and he had finally found himself a place to rest for the night. Remember, he was worried about things like being too cold in the middle of the night, or worried about marauding animals that might attack him in his sleep or something like that. And we ended with a beautiful epic simile of him bedding down. I'm going to read it again because it's so good. Which is on page 167. It says, "Long enduring great Odysseus, overjoyed at the sight, bedded down in the midst, and heaped the leaves around him, as a man will bury his glowing brand in black ashes, off on a lonely farmstead, no neighbors near to keep a spark alive. No need to kindle a fire from somewhere else. So great Odysseus buried himself in leaves, and Athena showered sleep upon his eyes. Sleep in a swift wave, delivering him from all his pains and labors, blessed sleep that sealed his eyes at last." Okay, so now he's asleep on this island, and he finally gets the rest after being, tossed underwater, and Poseidon giving him, crashing his boat into splinters essentially. And so, what we're going to find out now is, okay, now that he's here, now what? Who are these people who inhabit this island? What are they like, and how might they help him? And we will see also this reoccurring idea of xenia, of hospitality, and hospitality is the way to revere the gods. We will also see that Odysseus gets a lot of help again from Athena in this case here, and we will see him sort of have a plan that actually, not necessarily his plan, but a plan that somebody gives him, how to get in good with the king so that the king will help him out. All right, so that's just broad overview. Let's look at the specifics. All right, so at the very beginning we see, "So there he lay at rest, the storm-tossed great Odysseus, borne down by his hard labors first, and now deep sleep as Athena traveled through the countryside and reached the Phaeacian city." All right, so as he's sleeping, Athena is going around the countryside and into this particular city, the main city on this island. Skipping about 3 lines. "So their godlike king, Nausicaa, led the people off a vast migration." Skipping about 3 lines. "So their godlike king, Nausicaa, led the people off in a vast migration, settled them in Scheria, far from the men who toil on this earth. He flung up walls around the city, built the houses, raised the gods' temples, and shared the land for plowing. But his fate had long since forced him down to death. And now Alcinous ruled, and the gods made him wise. Straight to his house the clear-eyed Pallas," that's Athena, "went, full of plans for great Odysseus' journey home. She made her way to the gaily painted room where a young girl lay asleep, a match for the deathless gods in build and beauty, Nausicaa, the daughter of the generous king Alcinous. 2 handmaids, fair as the Graces, slept beside her, flanking the 2 posts, with the gleaming doors closed. But the goddess drifted through like a breath of fresh air, rushed to the girl's bed, and hovering close, she spoke, in face and form, like the shipman Dymas' daughter, a girl the princess's age, and dearest to her heart." So before we keep going here, what Athena is doing is she's gone to the palace. And she's gone into a young girl, Nausicaa, who's the princess, gone into her room, and essentially is appearing to her at her bedside as one of Nausicaa's good friends. And she's going to give her a message, almost like in a dream, so that when Nausicaa wakes up, she's like, "You know what? I had this dream that's not a bad idea. It's kind of like, I just watched this movie again the other night, Inception, all right? She's kind of going to plant an idea in Nausicaa's mind. Athena's going to plant an idea in Nausicaa's mind while Nausicaa sleeps. Sounds familiar, don't you think? I do. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to continue on where I left off. Disguised, the bright-eyed goddess chided, Nausicaa, how could your mother bear a careless girl like you? Look at your fine clothes lying there neglected with your marriage not far off. The day you should be decked in all your glory and offer elegant dress to those who form your escort. That's how a bride's good name goes out across the world, and it brings her father and queenly mother joy. Come, let's go wash these clothes at the break of day. I'll help you. Lend a hand, and the work will fly. You won't stay unwed long. The noblest men in the country court you now. All Phaeacians, just like you, face you're born and raised. So come, the first thing in the morning, press your kingly father to harness the mules and wagon for you, all to carry your sashes, dresses, glossy spreads for your bed. It's so much nicer for you to ride than to go on foot. Okay, so this is an interesting piece because, there is this idea of you're not going to get married if you're looking all scraggly like that. And that's one of the most important things that a woman in this time wants. So you go down and you go do the things to make all of the, the clothing and the linens and things look nice, because you're going to show yourself as someone who's worthy to be a bride. Okay, a little bit on the sexist tip for you there, I would think. But, it is interesting how she's doing this. Instead of just saying, boom, you're home, Odysseus, everything's done. She goes through so much trouble. Athena goes through so much trouble to enlist all these other people, humans, to come to Odysseus's aid. All right? And I kind of find that important because the gods are using this thing, this xenia, this hospitality that is very important to them, using that to Odysseus's advantage as he needs people to help him get where he's wanting to be, which is finally home with his wife. All right. You can see on the next page, let's say line 65 on page 170, she goes and talks to her dad. You can actually see on line 61, Daddy dear, is how she starts off. Okay, but about 3 lines down from that, she says lovely things. These are all lovely things that we have here. But lying before me all soil. And you yourself, sitting among the princes, debating points at your council, you really should be wearing spotless linen. Then you have 5 sons, full grown in the palace. 2 of them married, but 3 are lusty bachelors, always demanding crisp shirts, fresh from the wash when they go out to dance. Look at my duties. That all rests on me. Patriarchal society. All of the stuff, the sons, which would be her brothers, her dad's stuff, it all rests on the princess. Interesting. But we see Alcinous, Nausicaa's dad, say about 3 lines after that, I won't deny you the mules, my darling girl. I won't deny you anything. He's a sucker for his daughter. A lot of dads are. I can kind of speak from experience. All right, so on the top of 172, I got a lot to read here, but I want to get through this because this is this is important setup here. All right, it says, so Nausicaa shone among her maids, a virgin still unwed. All right, so Nausicaa took the wagon, took the mules, went to the water, took her attendants with her, but she is the most beautiful of all of them, all right? And so they're going to be out here and they're going to wash these clothes and they're going to sit down and eat some food, all right? So let's take a look at this a little closer. It says, but now as she was about to fold her clothes and yoke the mules and turn for home again, now clear-eyed Pallas thought of what came next, to make Odysseus wake and see this young beauty, and she would lead him to the Phaeacian town, the ball. The princess suddenly tossed it to a maid. Actually, the girls are out having fun on the beach. They're playing ball on the beach, all right? And Athena says, the ball, that's the key. Okay? The ball. The princess suddenly tossed it to a maid, but it missed the girl. It splashed in a deep swirling pool, and they all shouted out. And that woke great Odysseus. All right? So, girls playing ball on a beach, screaming, and Odysseus is like, oh, what's all that racket? Oh my gosh. Oh, these people might help me. Okay, so here we go. He sat up with a start, puzzling, his heart pounding, man of misery. Whose land have I lit on now? What are they here? Violent, savage, lawless, or friendly to strangers? God-fearing men. Did you notice that? Friendly to strangers. God-fearing men. To prove yourself God-fearing, you had to be friendly to strangers. That's the concept of Xenia, okay? And again, how far we've come from that, okay? To survive in this era, one had to prove himself friendly to strangers, for that was considered obedience to God. Listen, shouting, echoing around me, women, girls, or the nymphs who haunt the rugged mountaintops and the river springs and meadows lush with grass. Or am I really close to people who speak my language? Up with you. See how the land lies. See for yourself now. He's talking to himself there. Muttering so, great Odysseus crept out of the bushes, stripping off with his massive hand a leafy branch from the tangled olive growth to shield his body, hide his private parts. And out he stalked as a mountain lion, exultant in his power, strides through wind and rain, and his eyes blaze, and he charges sheep or oxen, or chases wild deer, but his hunger drives him on to go for flocks, even to raid the best defended homestead. So Odysseus moved out, about to mingle with all those lovely girls, naked now as he was, for the need drove him on, a terrible sight, all crushed, caked with brine. They scattered in panic now to the jutting beaches. Only Alcinous's daughter held fast, for Athena planted courage within her heart, dissolved the trembling in her limbs, and she firmly stood her ground and faced Odysseus. Torn now, should he fling his arms around her knees, the young beauty, plead for help, or stand back? Plead with a winning word, beg her to lead him down to the town and lend him clothing. So here he comes out. He's naked, he's filthy, he's covered with muck and brine, that's the salt water and stuff like that. He only has an olive branch, and he is out there, and all the other girls are like, oh my God, and they just take off running. But Nausicaa stays there and looks at him, and he's like, okay, now what do I do? Do I throw myself naked and dirty at her knees and hug him and ask her to help me? Or how do I handle this situation? It says, this was the better way, he thought. Okay. Plead now with a subtle, winning word and stand well back. Don't clasp her knees. The girl might bridle. Yes. All right. So he's thinking about what's the proper way to do this. What's the best way to handle this? And as Odysseus, we know he's going to come up with the best way to handle it. That's what he's known for, is his brain. All right. So, he says, here I am at your mercy, princess, on and on and on. And then towards about, let's say, line 172, he says, true. But he is the one more blessed than all other men alive. That man who sways you with gifts and leads you home, his bride. I have never laid eyes on anyone like you, neither man nor woman. I look at you and a sense of wonder takes me. Flattery will get you everywhere. Okay? He knows that. Okay? Laying it on thick. So he's not seen as somebody who is to be feared. He's not somebody that is going to cause any problems. Okay? He's full of compliments to get what he wants. On page 174, he goes on to say, this is the first break on page 174, compassion, princess, please. You, after all that I have suffered, you are the first I've come to. I know no one else, none in your city, no one in your land. Show me the way to town. Give me a rag for cover, just some cloth, some wrapper you carried with you here. And may the good gods give you all your heart desires, husband and house and lasting harmony too. This is interesting, I think. No greater gift in the world than that. When a man and a woman possess their home, two minds, two hearts that work as one. Despair to their enemies, a joy to all their friends, their own best claim to glory. And I wonder when I hear that if that's not him referencing his own experience with Penelope. No finer, greater gift. Two minds, two hearts that work as one. He's speaking from experience. He knows what that relationship is like and how important that is. All right. She's pretty much like, all right, man, I got you. Line 210. But now, seeing you've reached our city and our land, you'll never go back. You'll never lack for clothing or any other gift. The right of worn-out suppliants comes our way. If you'll see the next little section at the bottom, here it is specifically Xenia. She says, "Stop, my friends. Why run when you see a man? Surely you don't think him an enemy, do you? There's no one alive. There never will be one who'd reach Phaeacian soil and lay it to waste. The immortals love us far too much for that. We live too far apart out in the surging sea, off at the world's end. No other mortals come to mingle with us. But here's an unlucky wanderer straight our way, and we must tend him well. Every stranger and beggar comes from Zeus. And whatever scrap we give him, he'll be glad to get. So quick, my girls, give our newfound friend some food and drink and bathe the man in the river, wherever you find some shelter from the wind. Every stranger and beggar comes from Zeus. If Zeus wills everything to be, then how can this stranger coming to me be something outside of the will of Zeus? If that's what God wills a stranger to come to me, then that's what God wills a stranger to come to me, and I've got to do the right thing in caring for this creation of the God. All right? So they bathe him, they treat him well, they give him everything, and you can see at the bottom, Athena helps him out in a huge way, okay? Physically even altering his appearance. Line 251. And then, once he had bathed all over, rubbed in oil, and donned the clothes the virgin princess gave him, Zeus's daughter Athena made him taller to all eyes, his build more massive now, and down from his brow she ran his curls like thick hyacinth clusters full of blooms. Made him more attractive, made him stronger, made him physically taller and bigger. Okay? He's no longer that grimy, scary-looking naked guy coming from the bushes. Okay? So, she says, Nausicaa says, about 3 lines down into 176, "Listen, my white-armed girls, to what I tell you. The gods of Olympus can't be all against this man who's come to mingle among our noble people. At first he seemed appalling, I must say. Now he seems like a god who ruled the skies up there. Ah, if only a man like that were called my husband, lived right here, pleased to stay forever. Enough. Give the stranger food and drink, my girls." So yeah, Athena has done so much to improve his appearance and the way he carries himself here that Nausicaa went from going, ew, but you know, he's a stranger, I'll take care of him, to, hey, hubba hubba, what's up, all right? Now, we see them kind of trying to figure out the best way to get him to the city without people gossiping about what's this guy doing with the princess, and, you know, them coming up with all kinds of theories about what that's about. I'm going to start reading about line 285 where it says, "Wait, let's do it this way. You seem no fool to me. While we're passing along the fields and plowlands, you follow the mules and wagons, stepping briskly with all my maids. I'll lead the way myself, but once we reach our city, ringed by walls, and strong high towers too, with a fine harbor either side, and the causeway in is narrow, along the road the rolling ships are all hauled up, with a slipway cleared for every vessel. There's our assembly, round Poseidon's royal precinct. Poseidon's royal precinct. Remember, Poseidon is upset with Odysseus. But these people are seafaring people who live in an island that's way, way out, and they are Poseidon's people. So, something I want you to keep in mind here, Odysseus is going to seek help and get help from Poseidon's own people. That's going to be a problem. That's going to be a huge issue. It says, there's an assembly around Poseidon's royal precinct, built of the quarried slabs planted deep in the earth. Here the sailors tend their black ship's tackle, cables and sails, and plane their oar blades down. Phaeacians, you see, care nothing for bow or quiver. We're not a military people. We're not a vicious, violent group of people. Only for masts and oars and good trimmed ships themselves. We just care about the sea. That's our thing. We don't fight people. We sail the seas. We glory in our ships, crossing the foaming seas, but I shrink from all our sea dogs' nasty gossip. Some old salt might mock us behind our backs. We have our share of insolent types in town, and one of the coarser sort, spying us, might say, now who's the tall, handsome stranger with Nausicaa has in town? Where'd she light on him? Her husband to be? Just wait. But who's some shipwrecked stray she's taken up with some alien from abroad? All right, so the idea is, these are salty sea dog types of people. They might say something that's not really too flattering. So I'll get you here, and then you're going to have to take your own course in while we go in a different way, because I don't want people talking. I don't want that kind of nonsense. She goes on, that next little section there. So they'll scoff. Just think of the scandal that would face them. I'd find fault with a girl who carried on that way. Okay. Going down to about line 326, 327. Then when you think we're home, walk on yourself to the city. Ask the way to my father's palace, generous King Alcinous. You cannot miss it. Even an innocent child could guide you there. Once the mansion and courtyard have enclosed you, go quickly across the hall until you reach my mother. Okay, go to the mom first. Go to the queen. Beside the hearth she sits in the fire's glare, spinning yarn on a spindle, sea blue wool, a stirring sight you'll see. She leans against the pillar, her ladies sit behind, and my father's throne is drawn up close beside her. There he sits and takes his wine, a mortal, like a god. Go past him, grasp by my mother's knees. Okay, so you're clean, you're in the right place. This is the one you want to grasp her knees and beg for something. Grasp her knees if you want to see the day of your return, rejoicing soon, even if your home's a world away. If only the queen will take you to her heart, then there's hope that you will see your loved ones, reach your own grand house, your native land alive. So the way to get the stuff from the king is by way of his wife. If she likes you, then you stand a chance of getting what you need from him. So he offers up a prayer, Odysseus does, about line 356, 357. Hear me, daughter of Zeus, whose shield is thunder, tireless one Athena. Now hear my prayer at last, for you never heard me then when I was shattered, when the famous gods of earthquakes wrecked my craft. Grant that here among the Phaeacian people I may find some mercy and some love. All right. So that's where we're going to end this, Book 6. In the meantime, what I want you to do is I want you to read Book 7, annotate Book 7, have some of your own independent thoughts about Book 7, and then meet me here, and I'll give you some of my thoughts about Book 7. All right? So until then, and as always, I want to wish you happy reading. That's my dog.